Start of each.
From St. Petersburg, Florida, the American Powerboat Association presents the 1987 OMC Cobra Series. Brought to you by OMC and Ford Power Products. The Tampa Bay area, one of America's playgrounds. An area noted for its wonderful weather and activities galore for the young and the retired alike. St. Petersburg, where we are today, is an historical city with architecture going back to the early days of this country. An event rich in tradition here, the Southland Regatta, staged on Lake Maggiore, is near downtown St. Pete. Welcome to the great state of Florida and Lake Maggiore. I'm Don Poyer, along with veteran unlimited hydroplane driver Steve Reynolds. Now, Steve, appropriately enough, is not only a great unlimited driver, but also a former world record holder and national champion in one of the limited classes. And normally when Steve and I get together, he's driving an unlimited and I'm calling the race, but we're looking at several different limited classes today. Steve, I think it's going to be a gas.
Don, this Southland Regatta right here at Lake Maggiore in St. Petersburg, Florida, is deep-rooted in tradition. And I'll tell you, these are the good old boys of boat racing. It's going to be a lot of fun today.
Now, we'll be looking at several different classes, but in particular, the 2.5-liter stock and the 2.5-liter modified. We're going to let Steve go to work now and take a look at the 2.5 stock, give you some explanation on what this class is all about.
Well, Don, these little babies right here, the 2.5-liter stock, is a designated stock because they all run a stock Ford Pinto engine. Now, they're 16 to 18 feet in length, and even though they're stock, these little jewels will do about 100 to 105 in the straightaways. Makes it very, very competitive and a lot of fun to watch. We're going to have fun with this class today. Now, Don, we come to the 2.5-liter modified. These boats are 18 to 20 feet in length. And we call them modified because you can see this is a very highly modified engine. These are 6 cylinders instead of 4 cylinders, injected. They run methanol and exotic fuels. They're about 18 to 20 feet in length, and they run somewhere around 115 to 120 miles an hour. Very competitive, very exciting. We look forward to a great day from this class.
Thank you, Steve, and it's just about time to go racing. Our first elimination heat right after this.
Strength, pride, tradition. For centuries.
The Clyde Drive here in St. Petersburg, Florida. I'm Don Poyer, along with veteran driver Steve Reynolds. The course itself on Lake Maggiore, 1 2/3 miles, short front straightaway into a wide first turn, high speeds building up in the long back chute into a somewhat tight second turn, and then right on into the finish line. Short course. Some of the drivers to watch in this first elimination heat: Andy Coker, a veteran driver out of Florida; Willard Wilson, also fun to watch, former marathon runner in his day. This is the first of 3 elimination heats for the 2.5-liter stock boats. Here are some of the drivers, the rest of the drivers in this particular heat. 9 boats are running as they come down for the start now. The clock winding down to 0. You hear the gun. It's a legal start, and there's Willard Wilson in first place as they go past the start-finish line. On the inside, however, Eric Carruthers. He is a Canadian driver out of New Brunswick, and he's got great position, Steve, coming in.
Oh, yeah, but Andy's tucking right in next to him in lane 2. This is going to be a tight first corner.
Now here's Carruthers in first place. Second place looks like Andy Coker in the blue boat with a big air scoop above him. You can't miss it. Willard Wilson in third place. But that is Carruthers with a great start and great positioning down that fast straightaway. Second and third, Wilson and Coker. And then fourth is a man by the name of Ratan Leteau out of Canada as well. Tighter turn, Steve, in turn number 2.
Oh, it is. You know, remember, we're stock Ford Pinto engines. You know, all these boats are very, very even, so position is very, very important here. Look at that race for second and third.
That's the fun thing about this class, though, because there's a lot of onus on not only the running gear, but the driver himself. Like Carruthers gets a good start. He's holding on to position, and you've got some veterans behind him fighting for points as well.
But this may be something, a pattern we'll see all day long, Don. Position may be very, very important today. Looks like it's paying off for Eric.
They're on their second lap. This is a 3-lap preliminary heat. Top 4 finishers go on to the final. There are 3 preliminary heats, so you'll have 12 boats in the final in the 2.5-liter stock. Carruthers in first place in good control going down the main, or rather the back straightaway. Andy Coker looks like he has the inside, and second place. He's out of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. And Willard Wilson out of Delaware is in third place. In fourth again, Littell.
Oh, and you know those two. Look at Andy Coker and Willard Wilson. They're really having fun out there. This is a real dogfight for second and third.
You see how he swung wide? That's something Mr. Reynolds likes to do when he tries the unlimited. One more lap to go for Eric Carruthers, who will pick up 400 points. 300 would go to Andy Coker if he is able to hold on to second place. But look at Wilson on the outside again in third place, but pushing Coker like mad.
Well, I'll tell you, Don, Willard has been around for a long time. You know, he's a past world record holder in this class. He's not going to give Andy an inch. If Andy takes second, he's going to work for it.
What kind of a ride are they going through, Steve, as they go now on their third lap?
Well, you know, as light as these boats are, they feel very, very, very light on the water. It takes a lot of finesse. You know, and if you try and force these boats too hard, you're going to scruff off a lot of speed. It takes a lot of finesse, as I say, to get these boats around in real good time. And Eric is doing a great job right now.
Carruthers going into the second turn, completing lap number 3. He should be the winner. Coker in the blue boat. He is in the same lap, and of course, second place, the checkered flag awaiting. So our first heat goes to Eric Carruthers in the 2.5 stock, and second place to Andy Coker. 300 points to him. Willard Wilson comes in third place. There's Andy for second place. Looking at the results, Carruthers out of Canada, New Brunswick, Andy Coker out of Florida, Willard Wilson getting third, and Gaetan Littell coming in fourth place. They all go to the final. Steve's down in the pits with our first winner of the day.
Eric, nice run. How'd you find the water?
It was a little windy in the back straightaway, but it's pretty good.
That's good. That's good. How are you going to handle the next heat?
I'm going to see if I can get another start. If you don't get a start in this class, you're pretty much out of her.
Isn't that the truth? Don?
St. Petersburg Beach, only 5 miles away from here. Plenty to do on the west coast of Florida. Coming up, the 2.5-liter modified.
Biggest stories from the fastest tracks with Bob Jenkins and Larry Newber host ESPN Speed Week. Thursday nights at 7:30 Eastern, only on ESPN.
Many drivers compete in more than one class. Mark Tate is one of them, getting a little help from a crewman, getting from a 7-liter boat to another class. Some of the drivers to keep in mind in this first race for the modifieds. John DeVos set a world record yesterday. And Larry Lauterbach, one of the veterans, a great driver. He always puts on a good show. A quick rundown of the boats. There are 8 of them. As you see, Tim Houston, Bill Whitehouse, he's a good driver. Chuck Miller, Andy Coker is back into another class. DeVos, the world record holder, and Larry Lauterbach, Doug Brockton, good drivers. Bill Whitehouse in the Coors Light Silver Bullet. You see him waving. What's he doing, Steve?
He may have something wrong with his steering down. We better keep an eye on him.
All right, we've got an official start. That's Larry Lauterbach as he heads in lane number 2 and in first place. Boy, he's not giving much room, is he, to the boat on the inside. Doug Brogdon.
He really isn't. I'll tell you, Larry's going to hold him real tight, keep him honest.
Miller right now in third place in boat number 54, the Whoopee, but in first place, Gemini and Larry Lauterbach to 7-11 as he is holding on and trying to keep Doug Brogdon on his inside hip. They keep their foot to the floor all the way through this turn, right, Steve?
Yeah, there's a little more power here now, Don. The 2.5 stock, we've got about twice the horsepower. I think right here is where we may see where the cab over has a little advantage over that conventional Larry Lauterbach.
Look at these two fly into the turn. Now, Steve, you have said in a conventional boat, like the one on the outside, Larry Lauterbach sitting behind the engine, you got to dive into that turn going real hard.
Oh, Don, you've got to power through the corners with a Lauterbach haul, and nobody does it better than Larry. I think he was born in one of these cockpits.
Otherwise, you don't power through it, you just don't turn, do you?
That's just about the truth.
Okay, Brogdon in first place. This is the third place boat. John DeVos in cahoots, the world record holder. He set it just yesterday, better than 103 miles per hour, a heat record, by the way. But in first place on the right of your screen, Doug Brogdon in split second out of Jacksonville, Florida. I got to wonder, he might have sneaked up possibly on Lauterbach, who was in lane number 2.
Well, now it's possible. Either that or Larry knows this is an elimination heat, and a second place is going to virtually seat him into the final. Larry's a smart driver. He just may hold back a little bit and take that second.
Yeah, that's a good point, because the top 4 boats in these 2 elimination heats go on to the final. Brogdon in the driver's seat right now in first place, coming down, completing lap number 2. He will get the 400 points if he completes one more lap and holds on to first place. John DeVos has moved into second place, passing Lauterbach now, but oh, the arm is up. He's going dead in the water. Lauterbach back into second place. I wonder what went wrong.
I don't know, Don. Oh, what a shame. You know, he set a world record yesterday, and he moved up into a strong second place and was going to challenge for first. That's really a shame for John.
In the meantime, around the first turn, Lauterbach, there's a great shot. You're right in the cockpit in one of these Lauterbach holes. Outstanding shot. But going down the back chute, and keep in mind, the wind will get worse more than likely this afternoon as they go down that back chute head on to those gusts. Lauterbach in second place. Chuck Miller in third place going down the back chute as well. Again, a 3-lap heat, and this will do it. These top 4 boats will go on. Andy Coker, by the way, in fourth place, driving the Chevy V6 in this particular heat in the 2.5 mods. He'll go on to the final as well. But here comes your winner, Doug Brogdon, out of Jacksonville, Florida, in the split second. Winner of the first elimination heat for the modified, the 2.5 modified. And you saw Lauterbach coming into second place. There are your top 4, Chuck Miller Jr. and Andy Coker. They'll be racing later on in the day. Down to the pits. Let's hear from the winner, Doug Brogdon.
Nice start. Nice start. How's the water condition?
Real good. A little bit flighty down the backstretch, but other than that, it was great.
Sure makes a difference when you get that good position right on the money.
Get out front, get clear water, makes a big difference.
That's the truth, Don.
Steve, I'm with Larry Lauterbach, who came in second there. Did you see Mr. DeVos coming in on the outside out there?
Yeah, I saw Don sneak up on the outside, and I knew he had a little power on him. Just about the time he got even with my boat there, his motor went dead or something. He had a little problem and all. It was a shame, but he ran a good run yesterday, you know, a 103 heat and all. So we knew that was the boat to beat and all. And I let Brogdon get on the inside, and that first lap, I wasn't even paying Doug any mind. I was looking for John, you know, and then I knew Doug was there, but I said, well, I can outrun Doug. I thought, but I couldn't, you know. Yeah. Doug ran a good race.
Well, nice going. You're in the final?
Yeah, we're in the final. We're doing good.
That looked like a log to you? Let me tell you something. That log has teeth, eyeballs, and a tail. No wonder our crew didn't want to set up close to shore. We'll be back in a minute. On Lake Magori, there's our producer Mike Beck working on his suntan. Let's go down to the pits.
All right, John, well, tough luck, but yesterday's world record might make up for today's performance. You really looked good there for a while.
Yeah, that really made it. I can't believe it. Running out of gas in this last heat, I think that's what happened.
Was that what it was, out of gas?
Well, we got a new fuel injection setting in there, a new different jet, and it's a lot richer than we've been running in the past. And yesterday, when we did set the record, we couldn't get it started at the 5-minute warm-up period, so we didn't, you know, we had plenty of fuel for that heat. But today we ran the whole warm-up and the race, and we just ran out of fuel.
Well, you got to feel good how that BMW is running.
Oh, yeah, it's great. The boat's handling great. The engine's running great. I'm tickled to get that about the record, so whatever happened today, you know,
whatever. Well, he'll be back, I guarantee you. World record, John DeVos.
And in heat 2 of the 2.5-liter stocks, keep an eye on this young lady, Ann Fitzgerald, outstanding driver, and Jim Ruark out of Salisbury, Maryland. A couple of people to watch. And now for heat number 2 in the 2.5 stock, we have 9 boats. The top 4, again, will advance to the finals at the end of today. Here we go with the start now. All boats running on the inside. It looks like Jim Ruark with a great start. You heard the gun nowhere near the starting line. All boats safe. And here we go with the second elimination heat. Look at Ruark. Great start, Steve.
Oh, the boat's riding good, too. He got a good start on the inside. He's going to be tough to beat.
In boat 727 out of Rochester, Michigan, Bob Serwinski in second place. Ann Fitzgerald out of New Jersey in third place. I love Ann. She's been a longtime supporter of the APBA along with her brother, with her husband, John, that is. Great people. They love to race. And right now, Ann's holding on to third place on the inside here on the right of your screen. Fourth place, Bob Thrasher. But back to your leader now going into the second turn and heading for home to complete lap number 1 is Jim Ruark.
Oh, and Jim's staying right on the buoy line. The boat seems to be handling very, very well. See how nice and efficient that corner is?
You can always look for it coming into the turn, can't you? If the boat stays level, that's a nice sign.
Yeah, good power on attitude. That's exactly what you'd like to have.
He likes to lead forward, too, doesn't he, when he's driving those motorcycles, maybe. The lead now beginning to extend for Ruark. Again, out of the state of Maryland, he both owns and drives this boat, and he's having a good day. He'll go on to the final if he can stay in at least first, second, or third place, or fourth place. He'll go on and race later on. Second place, again, Bob Serwinski out of Rochester, Michigan. He, too, is a driver and owner. Takes turns driving it along with his brother, Dave. And I'll tell you, you walk into the pits, you don't know which is which. You just say, are you Bob or Dave? Who's driving? It's Bob today. That's all we know. Jim Ruark, a veteran, as he comes around completing lap number 2. Again, nice attitude on this boat as it handles beautifully, and the wind seems to be, well, not causing too many problems in that second turn where they, again, turn away from the wind and now start going with the wind, as you see Zerwinski. And again, Ruark in the lead.
You can see him looking over his shoulder. He's going to make sure exactly where that second-place boat is before he commits to himself.
Well, Zerwinski's, he's knocking on the door now as he comes up on the outside. Still a good rooster tail lead, but again, like you said earlier, Steve, you don't want to push your machinery too much because you still got a chance to get into the final. That's where you go for the money, let's face it.
That's right. This is an elimination heat, but you notice exactly what Jim is doing. He's staying to the inside, and as long as he's going in a turning radius, that means the boat to his outside has got to travel farther. That's exactly the strategy he's employing right now.
Something like auto racing, try to drive a circle instead of maybe hugging the buoys and go straight down following the pin line in the straightaways. Let's watch him now. Let's see. Okay, yeah, he's swinging wider. Good example right there, Steve. And so, Jim Ruark coming down the straightaway for the final time here on lap number 3. He will pick up 400 points. On to the final. Bob Zerwinski, likewise, congratulations to them. And looking at the final results in E2, Jim Ruark, Bob Zerwinski, and Fitzgerald out of the great state of New Jersey, and Bob Thrash in boat number 81.
Well, there's nothing wrong with first place. You made the cut. Any changes in strategy for the final heat?
No, I ran a little smaller wheel than I did yesterday and seemed to keep me up in the turn some. So I think I'm going to go with that in final heat, too.
We got an excellent start. You held your position. That's pretty tough to do in this class.
Yeah, everything worked out real well. I hope it does just the same in the finals.
There's a winner's smile.
Another class competing today, the Jersey Skiffs. Try doing this to your kidneys for 2 hours every weekend. We'll be right back. 9th annual Southland Regatta here in St. Petersburg, Florida. Good day, good crowd, and one more elimination heat in the modifieds. Keep an eye on this man, the 60 boat Glenn Coatney, driving for owner Mike Weiner. Also, Jackie Van Diemen, another veteran who will push Coatney for sure. Looking at the boats, and again, the top 4 finishers go on to the final. This is the same format we've followed throughout the day. Now, coming down, this is the Mahogany Rush out of Danville, Kentucky. Hugh Long in the boat number 5, coming out an A6, that being Jackie Van Diemen, the veteran we talked about earlier. It's a good start, and here they come down for the first turn. And on the inside, way back, is Glenn Coatney, but looking at the race now, looks like Doug Felster on the inside in boat number 77, Hot Shot, holding on to a slight lead and definitely lane number 1. Nice driving by him, Steve.
Oh, beautiful driving. There's 3 boats coming out of that turn side by side, and Glenn Coatney hot on their trail.
Something might have happened to Glenn a little earlier. I'm not sure, but he is way back and now trying to fight his way back up into the pack. Is that him there? No. Yeah, that's him. Okay, he's moved into second place already. Coatney into second place and now giving chase to Felster in boat number 77. Coatney driving for Mike Weiner, the owner of the boat out of Cincinnati. It's called the Mr. Bud, and he's in second place right now, completing lap number 1.
Now, I'm keeping a good close eye with interest. That Mr. Bud is a bit of a departure from what we're seeing, Don. Let's watch that boat closely.
You talked about the skid fin being way out on the outside of the sponson. You can see the boat on your right. It is a little different. Right now, he's giving Mr. Felster all he wants, and he may have the lead now as he comes into that wide first turn on lap number 2. Good race for 1 and 2.
What a beautiful turn by Glenn Coatney going into number 1 and coming out of 2. It looks like he's grabbed the lead.
Look at Coatney. Again, the foot down all the way through that turn. So you can imagine the speeds they're hitting by the time they get to the second turn. Where are they at right about now? 105, 110?
No, I think they're closer to about 125 or 30. And from the looks of the water, it looks like the wind's picking up just a little bit. Something to keep our eye on.
Boy, definitely in those light boats, to say the least. Coatney coming down, completing lap number 2. Second place, Doug Felster again, boat 77, a hot shot out of New Baltimore, Michigan. Coatney driving the new Mr. Bud. Real different sponsons, too. Look how they trail back into the stern.
Well, you know, as I said, that's a bit of a departure from the 3-point we see here on Jackie Van Diemen's boat. It seems to be working very well. I'm sure they're pleased with it.
There you can see the skid pin just slightly way out to the left sponson instead of back tucked in closer and behind the sponson, but it seems to corner extremely well. You look for that level turn when they keep the sponson, especially that right sponson down and the left sponson down in the water on a turn. You know your boat's behaving very well.
Oh, and it has a beautiful attitude, too, Don. Look at Felster coming on. Now watch Glenn coming through this corner. What a beautiful turning boat that is. See the skid fin out there? I'm really impressed by this design.
That's an old cliche, but that's why they call it hanging it on a hook, because they're literally hanging that boat on the skid fin as they come around. Completing lap number 3, Glenn Coatney, very likable, outstanding driver. He takes first place. Second place going to Doug Felster, again out of New Baltimore, Michigan in the hot shot. Third place to Jackie Van Diemen, the Spirit of Sharon, South Carolina. Again, the top 4 going on. Hugh Long fills out that field of 4 and will go on to compete in the final in the run for the money. To Steve Reynolds down in the pits.
Glenn Cody. Glenn, excellent run. Looks like you and Mr. Felster got a little tight out there in the first lap.
Awful close out there in that first turn, I'll tell you that much. Well, all the way around, but he left me just enough room to get inside, and fortunately, with the kind of boat we've got here, it hung in there, you know.
It really looks like it's running great.
It is running great. George English, Don Mashburn, that crew, they're tops.
Well, this man's got a smile on his face. I say he feels pretty good.
Well, Steve, I don't think he's going to feel too good much longer. We've just been informed by the tower that he jumped the gun. He will not be in the final. This is Eddie Sharp heading out for the final stock elimination race, and he's having trouble getting started.
You know, he's only got till the 1-minute gun. He's got about 30 seconds. Let's go, Eddie.
Will it happen? No.
Don't tell me these boys don't get keyed up.
And one of the drivers to watch when he is keyed up or any other time, Wheeler Baker out of Pennsylvania. Very good driver in a strange-looking boat. With the loss of Eddie Sharp, we now have an 8-boat field. Looking at some of the other people, Wheeler Baker, Eddie Sharp out, Butch Ream, look out for him, Jim Monahan, Jack Aldrich. So here we go with the final 2.5-liter stock elimination heat. Top 4 go to the finals. And there goes Wheeler Baker in that strange but effective boat. Good start for everybody. And on the outside, boat number 52, Alan Oslin out of Westland, Michigan. And into the first turn. Steve?
Oh, look at Wheeler Baker's boat dance through there. I mean, he's really giving that boat a ride.
It looks something like a red insect of some kind, but it runs so beautifully. And it ran very well yesterday during racing on Saturday. And look at him stretch that lead. Wheeler Baker going down the main chute now, around the wide turn. The battle for second place. On the outside is Oslin. On the inside, Butch Ream out of New Baltimore, Michigan. Great race for second and third. Down the back chute now, into that second turn, a little bit tighter. Again, the wind kicking up, and you've got to keep that in mind. Even though these boats aren't going all that fast, it still can affect the life pull of this design.
Wheeler just showed some experience by going to the inside. Now the 2 boats in second and third have had to cross his wake and now have a little rougher water to run in.
Now look at that. What does that look like? I mean, it's beautiful in a sense. It's ugly in another sense. But it is ahead, so you cannot say too many things about it, can you?
Oh, and riding, very efficient. Look at it come into the corner. That's exactly what you want a boat to do. Dance nice and free on the water like that, be very responsive, and Wheeler's really giving it a ride.
There's not much boat in the water, to say the least. That's boat number S712, that being Butch Ream. The owner is John Sorensen. Good, effective team. They've been successful in the past. Here we're on lap 2. That being George Kennedy in 4th place, number 25. If he holds on, the man from Hialeah, Florida, will go on to the finals as well. But again, back to Wheeler Baker, who also drives the 7-liter Prime Mover, a great boat for Al Vortemeyer out of Miami. But here again, the battle for second and third on the inside. Butch Ream on the outside, Alan Oslin. The battle for 2 and 3 with 1 lap to go. You got to trust the guy next to you, don't you, Steve?
Oh, absolutely.
When you go that close.
Absolutely. You've got to have real faith in the guys that you're racing against. Otherwise, you can't run 2 and 3 feet apart at 100 miles an hour.
Look at that. A gorgeous shot with the crowd behind them, and they come into that turn at about 110, I'd say, maybe 115. Right into that wide turn, and again, keeping the foot to the floor because they don't need to slow down on this wide first turn. Going into the north, now heading west, and they'll go south down the back chute. There goes Wheeler Baker again. It's not even, it looks like aerodynamically it would be not that great as far as the cowling, but it's still very successful. Again, the battle for second and third. Both, I'm surprised that they're pushing this hard because they're both in the final. Again, the top 4 go in, but they're still putting on a good show for the crowd at least.
Now remember, excuse me, Don, it's a matter of points here. So a second over a third place finish could be very vital in the final standings.
Yeah, by the end of the day, too, because there are a number of awards that go out for an entire day or weekend's effort. So again, on the inside in 712, Butch Ream out of Baltimore, New Baltimore, Michigan, and Alan Oslin in the boat number 52. But the winner, Wheeler Baker, and second place, oh, baby, you call it, Alan Oslin on the outside, boat 52, and Butch Ream in 712 getting third place. So your top 4 finishers are these. And they will go on to compete with the other finishers in the 2 earlier preliminary heats in the final. Let's go down to the pits. Well, normally we like to talk with a winning driver, but as you can see, Wheeler Baker is heading out in his 7-liter to race in the coming up Governor's Cup.
Well, Don, I'll see if I can get a word with Wheeler. He's a pretty busy man down here. Say, Wheeler, you having fun yet? Are you having fun yet?
The Governor's Cup is on deck.
With Jerry Waldecker, and we've got the hot stuff. It's the 7-liter that won its elimination heat earlier with our friend Tom Deeth aboard. Jerry, how much horsepower are you getting out of this 427 cubic inch motor?
About 585, 600, you know, in that area.
And what's Tom seeing for a top end on a course like here at Lake McGorge?
I'd say he's seeing 135 on the back stretch. He ran 115.1 first day and 113.7 that heat there, so he's a little bit off the record. We need about 3 100s, that's all.
Oh, that's close. We're talking 22 feet, 500 horsepower, 135 miles an hour. That's competitive boat racing.
Steve, before we go on, it's time to visit some friends. This is what the Southland Regatta is all about. The children at All Children's Hospital. The money raised through the boat race, which is put on by the Northeast Exchange Club, goes to this hospital to help these kids hopefully overcome such diseases as cancer, burn victims, and accident victims. Many drivers that have raced in the past, such as Jim Kropfeld of the Miss Budweiser Unlimited Hydroplane team, returns every year to visit some of these kids, to share with them boat stories, to sign autographs, and to basically share the good times with these kids that aren't nearly as fortunate as we are. Our hats off to these kids. And again, this is what boat racing and the APBA is all about here in St. Petersburg. But now the matter at hand. This is the Governor's Cup. The 8 fastest boats of the day will compete head-to-head, regardless of class. The rundown: Andy Coker, Tom DeEath, Mike Mamano, Steve Kerr, Wheeler Baker. We've talked about him a lot. Dave Billwalk out of the Northwest, and the rest of the field. Here we go, mostly 7 liters, some 6-liter boats, and a lot of speed. Tom DeEath here in the yellow boat, an unlimited hydroplane driver, way on the outside, and he's moving in against the field already, Steve.
Oh, I tell you, Tom can make it very tough on the rest of the boats on the inside.
Look at that. He's done in lane 2 already. Mike Mamano in lane number 1. In leader of the pack, L-I-T-R-E, when we say leader of the pack, he is currently in 2nd place. But look at Tom DeEath in lane number 2. A good lead going down the back chute. That's Dave Billwalk out of the Northwest, Sumner, Washington, in a 6-liter boat, isn't it, Steve?
That's correct.
Oh, and look at the air getting underneath that 7-liter boat. Hot stuff. Tom DeEath driving for Jerry Waldecker, the owner, completing lap number 1 around that turn. Slight lead, but Mamano holding on.
Oh, what a nice corner. I'll tell you, Tom DeEath is giving him no room whatsoever, and Mike is driving exactly where he can, which is right in lane 1 or 1.5.
That's the battle between 3rd and 4th, that being Dave Billwalk and Wheeler Baker in Prime Mover, a great boat. Only went out there with a Ford engine, I understand. Great boat in the past for Al Vortemeyer out of Miami. Again, here's the battle for 1st and 2nd DeEath against Mamano. Then coming up, he got Billwalk on the inside, and Wheeler Baker in 3rd place in the Prime Mover.
Oh, Don, these boats are so even right now, so even. You know, they're both at the same engine, identical hulls. It could be back and forth as to who's going to take first. Look at Mike Mamano get up in the air.
Now it's a case of really reading the boat, isn't it, down that back chute and able to get that maximum speed without simply getting way out of hand.
And it takes a lot of experience. When you're traveling 135 to 40 into winds like we've got here right now, it takes a lot of experience to keep that boat down on the water.
And that back chute right now is treacherous. And keep in mind, as they go into that south turn, or rather the first turn, there are some springs out there that affect the current of the water somewhat. Right now, I don't think they're thinking about that too much because they've got a great race between Tom DeEath and Mike Mamano. And in 3rd place, Wheeler Baker, who was driving that 2.5-liter stock boat we saw earlier, now in Prime Mover for Al Vortemeyer.
Well, I think it's anybody's race right now. Mike is coming up strong on the inside, but Tom seems to have just a little bit more horsepower. Let's see if the wind is a factor now coming up the back chute.
Wheeler Baker still holding on to 3rd place down the back chute. DeEath way up in the air, and that cost him. Look at Mamano moving up on the inside, Steve.
Oh, Don, that's just what he needed. There was just a half a second that he needed. Mike now on the inside has a shorter run. He's got a half a boat length lead on him. It's going to be a drag race to the final.
It's literally a sprint to the checkered flag. Mamano swinging wide, and I think he nosed him right at the finish line. Third place coming up, Einar Glacius, a 6-liter boat after the prime mover went dead in the water. So let's look at the final 4 finishers. Mike Mamano, congratulations to him, and Tom DeEath, great show. Einar Glacius in a 6-liter boat coming in 3rd, and Dave Vilwalk, also a 6-liter, coming in 4th. Let's go down to the pits.
Excellent racing. Hey, you and Mr. Deeth put on quite a show.
Well, he's one of the best drivers in the country, and I feel very honored to drive next to him. I know he drives a lot of the unlimited stuff, but I think it was a good race. We had a few problems in the first heat, and I think we sorted them out. But conditions out there are a little windy, especially in the backstretch, coming down into that 3rd and 4th corner. But
well, I noticed as close as you two were running, it was neck and neck there for a while. Maybe the inside position favored you a little bit. Right, just coming into turn 3, it looked like Tom got a little loose. You might have picked up that 2 or 3 boat lengths you needed to get that edge. Was that the point where you felt you took command of the race?
yeah, I was waiting for him to get a little gust of air. I didn't want to, push it too much, but it was a little tricky, like I say, in that backstretch. However, take advantage of his mistake.
Well, congratulations, Mike. I'm sure all the good words you had for Tom, he turns around and gives to you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tom, congratulations. Great show. This reminds me of our unlimited days together, but outstanding.
Well, it was a good race. I had a lot of fun, and that's what we come down here to do, just have a good time. I had a really nice start, and Mike had position on the inside, and it was just deck the whole way. I had him by about a boat length almost all the time, but my boat would get loose, and I'd have to ease out of it, and that's when he'd catch me. And right on the last corner there, it really got loose, and I had to settle it down, and then he got me by about 2 boat lengths. And I almost got him at the finish. I caught back up, but just not enough.
Meanwhile, the Queen and her court is taking Mike Mamano up to the tower to receive his trophy. Tough flight. Run for the money coming up. Don Poyer with Steve Reynolds. You're in a big, big family when you're a hydroplane racer. Here's a great example of that. Ethel Long is the driver of this 1-liter modified boat. The crew chief is her husband, Chuck Long, who also drives 2.5-liter boats. The owner of this boat that Ethel drives is their daughter. You talk about a family operation. Ethel's been driving 1-liters for many, many years, and boat racing just a part of the family, just like the kids. The Long family competing here at St. Pete. Time for the 2.5-liter modified final, the climax of today's racing. And here are 2 of the people to keep an eye on. First of all, Larry Lauterbach in that conventional boat, and he'll do battle, with Doug Brogdon, who won the earlier heat today. Less than 30 seconds remaining before the start of our final in the 2.5-liter modified class. The 4 top finishers in the 2 preliminary heats are now out on the course. As they come around now, it's Larry Lauterbach in lane number 1, Doug Brogdon in lane number 2. Brogdon, the winner against Lauterbach in their preliminary heat, and Brogdon with a great start in the A-15 boat. On the inside is Larry Lauterbach. Look at that, Steve, a great start for Brogdon.
And strategically, the inside lane is where Larry Lauterbach has to be.
Everybody behind the starting line when the gun went off, and now it's the race for the busiest left turn in Florida. As here you see Brogdon giving room to Lauterbach, but still keeping up the boat speed as he goes into that wide first turn. This is the race for the money. You got Lauterbach chipping away from the inside, the veteran, against, of course, Brogdon on the outside in that Stoddard hole. It's a Stoddard hole, a cab over, where Brogdon sits in front of the engine. This man, Larry Lauterbach, sitting behind the engine in a Lauterbach hole, designed, of course, by Larry and his father.
Well, right now it seems that Larry has just a little bit of speed on Doug going into each corner. That may be advantageous for him. Let's keep an eye on it.
Plus, like you said, those conventional holes really have to go in hot into those turns to make that skid fin and the rudder bite to turn around and kiss the buoys. Third place, by the way, Chuck Miller in the A-54 boat. But again, coming down on lap number 2. Still, 2-boat race, really. These guys are running away from the student body, as you see Lauterbach on the inside.
Oh, neither boat is giving ground. I'll tell you, these guys are really having a lot of fun. But this is good boat racing, side-by-side dueling.
How close are they to each other, side-by-side?
Well, right now, I'd say they're no more than 4 or 5 feet apart.
And you're going at about, what, 120 on the straightaway?
Just about 120, maybe 125. Look at this course.
125, and you're about 4 or 5 feet away. What a great way to spend a Sunday afternoon. Look at this. You got to trust the guy you're next to in order to go those speeds and still race and be that close to each other. Brogdon at the end of lap number 2, still with a slight lead over Lauterbach out of Portsmouth, Virginia. Lauterbach in a boat called Gemini. Brogdon in a boat called Split Second, and that is his lead right now over Lauterbach. This is the final lap, the run for the money, and it's nose to nose as they go into the first turn. What do you think Lauterbach's thinking right now, Steve? I got to push him somehow. Maybe something will break or get him, force him outside.
Well, right now, Larry's concern is he's got to get into the next corner, at least side by side with Doug.
Right now, everything. He is pushing that. Look at. Oh, he's got air under both spots, and you don't see that on a conventional very often.
No, and that's just what Larry had to do. He had to get into that corner first, which he did.
And he has the position now. He's got Brogdon on his outside hip, and that ought to do it for a veteran like Lauterbach as he pushes Brogdon outside. Tremendous race by the two of them. Give it to Lauterbach. Second place to Doug Brogdon. Outstanding final in the modified. Third place to Chuck Miller in Whoopee out of Annapolis, Maryland. So the record books will look like this. 7-11 and Larry Lauterbach on top, then Doug Brogdon, Chuck Miller, and number 76, Andy Coker. Down to the pits with Steve Reynolds and the wily Mr. Lauterbach.
Well, now tell me, were you having fun out there?
Having a ball, Steve, having a ball. You know, I'd really be lucky to good any day of the week.
I tell you what, you're making those cab overs look silly.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't think it matters where you sit in the boat. I've been telling you that for years, you know. But the cab overs are the hot setup, and we got some high-dollar teams about dollars out there, motor-wise and boat-wise. But we're real pleased with the way the boat's running. We're real tickled. I thought Friday we probably had the third or fourth fastest boat here. We hung in there, we won the whole thing. Who knows? You never know. You know that.
Yeah, look at that man smile. I'll tell you what, from this driver's vantage point, that race was won by the driver. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you, Steve.
Incidentally, the shore patrol is still hard at work. We'll return to St. Petersburg after this. There is always plenty to do here at St. Petersburg, like out on the beach. Just add water. And several thousand people have decided to hit the waters of Lake Magori to watch the racing today. One more final coming up. Eric Crothers will be in it, the 2.5-liter stocks. Crothers, an earlier heat winner. Also, Wheeler Baker in maybe a funny-looking boat, but it is fast. Now, here is an incredible sight. You've got 12 boats out there, the top 4 finishers from the 3 preliminary heats in the 2.5-liter stocks, and they're all out there, all trying to find a lane, and my goodness, you talk about a traffic jam. Here they come for the final in the 2.5-liter stocks. Eric Carruthers in the center of your screen to the left, coming out with a good start. There's Willard Wilson in boat 145 with a great start as well. And now into that big wide first turn. Looks like an invasion.
Boy, it is getting a little crowded down there, but it looks like Wheeler's into the turn first.
That being the red boat, we've talked about it, number 563. Coming around the outside, the rest of the student body, as they now get into lanes. Can you imagine being about lane, what, 4 or 5, right in the middle of that?
No, I'd rather be back here calling it than be out there getting wet.
Been through that a few times. Carruthers in first place. He was a winner in one of the preliminary heats, and he is fighting off the man right there on his right, Wheeler Baker, in that boat that is unconventional, to say the least, and but very effective and very successful, as we said earlier on. Wheeler Baker, who also drives Prime Mover, the 7-liter boat for Al Vortemeyer. Little bumpy ride. He's in second place. Carruthers in first. And I believe that's Willard Wilson still holding on to third in lane number 3. Nice shot.
I'm sorry, Don. You got to keep an eye on Willard back there. He's a crafty old driver, and he's not going to give you much. They better keep an eye on Willard. He's going to pass them all.
It's basically a 3 to 4 boat race now, as Wheeler Baker in the red boat, 563 on the inside. Eric Carruthers, the Canadian, and on the outside, Willard Wilson. Andy Coker is back there. There he comes. And so that is the rundown 1 through 4 at this stage. Wheeler Baker looking over the shoulder, trying to find Carruthers, leaving him just enough room.
Just enough. And, you know, we're down to stock Pinto engines. You know, as we said earlier, it's a matter of finesse with these hulls. They're very light, a little bit underpowered. So sometimes driver's skill can make the difference.
Again, good harsh turn. Look at that. I don't know. You call it, Steve.
Well, that was a little bit close. We'll have to leave that one up to the referee. 3 boat lengths? I don't know.
Whatever. It really opened up the lead, though, for Wheeler Baker against Eric Crothers, who now holds on to second, and Willard Wilson moving up on his outside, trying to take over second place as well as they complete lap number 2. One more lap remaining on this 1 2/3 course. It has been a good day for Wheeler Baker, other than driving in that 7-liter where he lost, I believe, a piston while racing in that boat, the prime mover. He has had a great day in the 2.5 stocks. There's no stern on that boat, nothing but a flop and a rudder back there, I swear, no boat.
Well, unconventional as it is, he's out in front, and right now he looks like he's got a lock on first place.
He does indeed after that move back in the second turn on lap number 2. And now it's simply a matter of keeping the engine running as Wheeler Baker now brings it down. He's one of the veterans of this sport, almost losing his cowling over the engine, as a matter of fact, as he comes down the straightaway. It's all his, the final of the 2.5 stock. Wheeler Baker the winner. Second place, Eric Crothers, and third place, Willard Wilson. So the first leg of our OMC Cobra Series is now in the books, with Wheeler Baker on top, followed by Carruthers, Wilson. Andy Coker having a good day. He finished in the money in the modifieds as well. And Gaetan Leteau coming in 5th place. Let's go down to the pits again with the victor, Wheeler Baker.
Got it. Well, Wheeler, you had a busy day. I mean, you're 2 for 2 in this class. Let's see. Was that lap 2 when you finally got the lead?
Yeah, I had to work a little bit for that one. But that boy didn't want to give it up. Oh, that's great. That's great. That's a neat little boat.
Oh, it really is. We enjoyed watching you run today. 2 for 2. Not a bad day.
Not bad at all. Wish I could have done with the other.
Wheeler Baker.
Second lap, second turn. Did Wheeler Baker leave enough room for Eric Crothers? Was he cut off? Did he have a large enough lead to make that move? The officials say yes. Classes running today, the Super Stocks. This is Dave Bilwalk out of Sumner, Washington. A great machine and a winner today. And we'd like to tip our hats to all of our winners today in the 49th annual Southland Regatta. Here they are.